It's Monday, April 9th, 2018. And 18. And 18 for the rest of the year. So what are we going to talk about today on the Monday show, Vanran10 on sports? We're going to talk about a few problem children in the NFL, and one who's not in the NFL and shouldn't be in the NFL. Maybe he should. Everybody, I guess, deserves a second chance, but not a huge fan of this guy. But we're going to talk about these three people. We're going to talk about Odell Beckham, Dez Bryant, and Johnny Manziel. Can you guess which one of the three I don't like? So, first we'll kind of talk about Dez Bryant. Do we think Dez Bryant is done in Dallas? I don't know. I don't know if he's done in Dallas. It's one of those things where the last couple years he has declined a lot. He can't get separation, and he's dropping the ball way too much. So what do you do with a guy like that? I think he's set to make 14 to 17 million, somewhere in there, like $17 million. You definitely don't want to pay $17 million to a wide receiver that can't separate. The Denver Broncos are paying like $18 million to their starting quarterback. The Dallas Cowboys are paying like $14 to $17 million for a starting wide receiver that's lost a lot of steps. I think Dez might be able to reinvent himself if he can maybe figure out a way. He's going to have to take less money. I just don't see Dallas keeping him on. I don't see anybody taking on that salary. It's too much money for a guy who's just not producing. And it's not like he just had one bad year. He's had a couple of them. His previous year wasn't that good, and last year was pretty bad. So he's declining at a pretty good rate. He says he can still play. I'm not so sure. But could he succeed? Could he still be a viable option at wide receiver? You can't make this guy a slot wide receiver. I don't think he's got that mentality to be a slot wide receiver. He's at least going to have to be your number two. But could he go to a team with a strong number one and be the number two where he's not having to face the best cornerback every time? He could reinvigorate his career if he could get traded to a team where he is no longer the number one option. Now, I don't know. I know that nobody's going to take on that money. Even if it's $14 million, they're not going to take on that money for a number two wide receiver. And especially a number two that could possibly be, maybe your third best option. But he's not a slot guy. You can't put him in the slot. He doesn't really have that skill set. Now, of course, Fitzgerald didn't have that skill set, but he wanted to keep playing, so he worked at it, and he became a pretty good slot receiver, and he's extended his career because of it. A lot of players won't take the hit and take the demotion to keep playing longer. But sometimes you got to. If you want to extend your career, Champ Bailey was a very good cornerback. He was a great shutdown cornerback for many years, for good years in Washington and Denver. But when Champ Bailey started to lose it went away pretty quick. And one of the main problems is he didn't want to move to safety, where he might have been able to extend his career. Look at a guy like Charles Woodson. He started out as a corner, and he was a pretty good corner. But he knew that he was losing a step, and he moved to safety, extended his career, and cemented himself as a Hall of Famer. So if you're willing to kind of take a different position, just not look at it as a demotion, look at it as just moving somewhere else within the organization to keep prolonging your career. If you have the right attitude, you can do it. Dez Bryant, could he maybe do it? Maybe. I think he could take the demotion to a number two guy. Maybe he's going to have to, tighten up the routes a little bit, and he's going to have to maybe train a little bit harder to get himself a little bit more of an edge or get some of his edge back, and he's going to have to take less money. The Dallas Cowboys, I don't know if they're going to want to hold that contract and watch him be that bad for another year. Now, maybe that year was a fluke. Maybe he was just having a real bad season. He says he feels great. He says that he can play every bit as good as he did 3 years ago. Is that a salesman's job? Is he trying to sell Jerry a bag of goods, or can he still do it? I think he's on the decline, and it's unfortunate. He was a very, very good wide receiver for about 8 years. So very good. His attitude problems towards the beginning, he never really got in a lot of trouble outside of football. Because, I mean, he had to be babysat a little bit because Jerry had a security detail that followed him around. I don't know if he still does, but Jerry invested some money in Dez Bryant. But I think Jerry Jones liked Dez Bryant personally. So, I don't know. That could save Dez Bryant's job because Jerry likes him. But it's gonna be tough. I think Dez's only option is basically he's either going to stay in Dallas or get cut by Dallas. And if he's going to go to another team, he's going to have to take a pay cut because nobody else is going to sign him at $14 million a year. He'd be lucky to get $8. I think he's going to have an incentive-laden contract. But I still think he has a chance to reinvent himself if he wants to take a little bit of a demotion and take a little less money. He might be able to extend his career by a few more years. He's going to have to work on the dropsies, though, because that's a big problem. When you're a wide receiver that starts to get the dropsies, that hurts. You gotta fix that real quick. That may be the first thing you gotta fix is making sure those hands clamp down around the ball. So the next person we're going to talk about is Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham, very good wide receiver. Very good. Super talented wide receiver. But not the greatest attitude. Not the greatest citizen in the universe. But a super talent on the field. Eli Manning is on the decline of his career. And for the Giants to trade away Odell Beckham is not going to help Eli Manning any. Eli Manning needs very good weapons around him. If he doesn't have great weapons, I think the Giants just need to hold on to him. What's wrong with... Yeah, he's made a couple of iffy decisions, but nothing so egregious that you couldn't... that New Yorkers aren't going to go, I don't necessarily approve, but... just keep your nose clean from now on and let's move forward. I think Odell Beckham is fine where he is. I think he should just stay with the Giants. I know they're trying to trade him, and I know they're trying... But the problem is, it's like, if New York doesn't want him, where are you going to send him? He's a great wide receiver. But are you really going to give up 2 or 3 number 1 picks for a guy that's got about 4 more great years in him? It depends. If I'm a team, I'd think of it this way. If I'm a team like the Patriots, I would want Odell Beckham. I'd give up my first-round pick this year for him. Not anything else, but I would give up my first-round pick. Maybe a 5th and a 7th in the next draft. But I'd give up this year's first-round pick for Odell Beckham. It's a high first-round pick, so I'd give it... I don't know. Maybe they don't have a first-round pick this year. But I would give up a first-round pick for Odell Beckham. So whether it's this year or next year, I would give up one for Odell Beckham if I was the Patriots. And here's why. Tom Brady doesn't have a lot of time left. You're going to lose Gronkowski. You might lose Gronkowski. There's no guarantee you're going to lose Gronkowski, but it doesn't sound like Belichick's real happy with him. They put him on kind of a... They're kind of getting the feelers out there to see if anybody wants a giant polar bear who's always, licking his wounds because he's always hurt. is a gigantic human being who's always hurt, but he does get pounded on. It's kind of the whole thing. It's because he's so big, like Shaquille O'Neal was. You don't call as many fouls or penalties against people that hit them because they're so big. You figure, they can take it. Not fair, but it happens. I mean, it happens to Cam Newton. Not fair because he's big and he's stronger than most any other quarterback. He should still be officiated the same way as you would officiate, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. But people referees let people clobber Cam because he's so big and, he's so big and strong looking. So it's not right, and I understand Cam's frustration, and I understand Gronkowski's frustration, but he doesn't seem to have any. And he seems to just be a happy-go-lucky guy. But if Gronk is gonna be out, even if you keep Gronk and he's always hurt, he's gonna be gone for some of the season. Why not have a weapon like Odell Beckham for the next few years? Have him at his highest point when Tom Brady needs a guy with that much talent to maybe. Really, what first-round pick are you going to get that can do what Odell Beckham could do? I don't know if there's any wide receiver in that first round of the draft that could do what Odell Beckham is capable of. And maybe going to the Patriots, maybe Tom Brady can sit there and go, let's back off the throttle, Odell, and let's play some football, and let's see if we can't win a Super Bowl together. So if I'm the Patriots, I maybe give up a first round and a fifth and a seventh at some point in the next few years, if I can get the Giants to agree to it, and that's what I'm willing to give. I'm not willing to give that much. I'm not willing to give 2 first-round draft choices for Odell Beckham. Just not. No way. Not for a wide receiver. If it was Jerry Rice, yes. Odell Beckham, no. And the last person we're going to talk about a little bit is Johnny Manziel. He's trying to get back into the NFL. Good for him. Not a Manziel fan. Never been a Manziel fan. Do I believe everybody should have a second chance? Yes. Should Manziel have another chance to show that he's matured and play NFL football? Absolutely. He does seem to have righted some of his wrongs. I don't like the fact that he hit his girlfriend. I do not like that at all, but supposedly he's gone through the classes. It's not a good thing. I don't really care if Manziel gets a job or not in the NFL. I really don't. But if he can keep his nose clean and he is sorry for what he did and he shows remorse and he keeps on the straight and narrow and is a good citizen, then absolutely, he should have a second chance. He should be allowed to earn a living like anybody else. If he's got the talent and there's an NFL team that wants him, he should absolutely be allowed to play football again. But if you were on my team, you'd be on a very short leash. One mistake and you're gone. I mean, that's it. Because when you've had the history that Manziel has had, you've got to be pitch perfect for the rest of your NFL career. You can't make another mistake. Now, maybe if you play for 5 years with no controversy and you have one little discretion, that's a minor thing that it's like, you're going, come on, Johnny, why are you doing that? I mean, as long as it's nothing major, you can't hit a woman, you can't get a DUI, you can't do anything super stupid, but, and you got to ditch this. Get rid of this, Johnny. You don't need it. It's not necessary. It's like, that's what makes defensive players want to kill you. It's like, if you get rid of this and you humble yourself a little bit, you might find out you might gain a little bit more respect from your fellow players. So, play football the right way. Be a good citizen. If he can do these things and he is remorseful and he is sorry for what he did when he, hit his girlfriend. I guess she dropped the charges. She didn't want to press any charges. I'm not super familiar with it. But everybody does deserve a second chance. And if somebody in the NFL wants to sign him and he is truly sorry and he keeps his nose clean and he's a good citizen and a good teammate, hey, give him a shot. We'll see. What do you feel? How do you feel about any of these players? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Do you have a different opinion? Go ahead and put it in the comments below. Love to hear them. Love to read them. So, with all that being said, to the troops, past, present, and future, thanks for the freedom.